is the Hotone Ampero Mini, which features 198 preset patches, 199 effects, up to 9 simultaneously, built-in drum machine with 100 patterns, and a looper with a maximum recording time of 100 seconds, with a tuner amongst many other awesome features. And this is why it's called the Mini. This is the smallest product in the Ampero line, but it features all the same great sound as the previous models, but just in an ultra compact design, which actually comes in different colors as well. Personally, I feel like that's a really cool addition and a really cool feature to be able to pick the color that you want to either match your studio, your aesthetic, your pedal board, whatever it is. That's really cool. And being honest, this is my first experience using a digital amp modeler like this in pedal form, because I've used amp sims and digital plugins on my laptop for recording and just general jamming, but I've never really had an experience with something like this in a pedal form before. It's got a touchscreen display on the front, as well as 2 foot switches with striking LEDs. On the top, we have all our connections. We have an in and out for jack cables, obviously plugging in your guitar and then out to your output source, amp, whatever it might be. We have a connection for an expression pedal as well. We have auxiliary and headphone inputs, a USB-C port to connect to a computer or a laptop for software or firmware updates, but it also can be used as an audio interface. We've got a 9-volt power input, and the power supply actually comes with it as well. And also on the top, we have the master volume control as well. So there's a brief overview of the Ampero Mini, but let's plug it in and test it out. When it turns on, we get this nice little graphic at the beginning, which I think just looks really cool. And then the first tone that loads up, it says "Welcome to Ampero," and if I start playing, this is the first preset that we get. As you see, when it turns on, we get these really nice LEDs on the 2 foot switches here. Obviously, the right one cycles up through the presets, and you just can start your journey flicking through all these different tones and everything like that. And the left one is obviously to cycle back down again. So very quickly, if I just show you a few of these tones to start off with. The first one says "Welcome to Ampero," so this is the first tone we get. And I quite like that it's nice, a nice rocky tone. So straight away, this is designed to be plug and play. And I like how the first tone is probably, I'm just gonna speak under pure assumption now that this is probably the main tone that a lot of people are gonna want, is maybe a rocky tone. It just gives a good indication of the sort of overall sound of it anyway. And that's the first tone. And like I said, all of these can be completely edited. You can change literally everything about it in terms of the gain, the effects, everything like that, but we'll get to that in a second. So the first thing is, let's just cycle up through the first few tones here. That's preset number 1. And then now we're on to the second one. Nice little overdrive tone there. And then we get Zephyr clean. So if we go to a nice clean tone. So the first thing I'm noticing there is that, kind of flicking through these, is that one of the main things at the bottom right of the display, it says amp master. So each one has its own volume. So the main thing is that you can flick through. If I go from this one and then flick to the next one, this one's a lot quieter, so I will need to play about and turn this one up a little bit to get the right volume, because you might want to set different volumes for different tones. What I would probably want is most of them to be the same volume, so when I flick through, there's not these drastic jumps up and down. So yeah, I've just changed the volume of that one. If I cycle through these tones and I don't save any of the adjustments that I do, they will be lost. So you need to make sure that you save them, which I'll explain in a second. I've been playing about with this for a little while, and so far this next one, this Boost Solo FX one, is one of my favorites, and I like that it's quite near the beginning as well. So again, plug and play. Very quickly you can find some tones that you like. I like that one. I get carried away a little bit. I get carried away too easy with this and all these cool sounds and everything like that. Again, flicking through. Another sort of high gain metal tone. This sounds like an early Metallica sort of tone to me. Nice. And a clean tone. See, that's quite a lot louder than the previous one. So again, it takes a little bit of adjusting to actually cycle through and then set all of your preferences. Now, I feel like I'm going to stay on this one for the time being, because now we're on to sort of obviously a further patch. And I want to try and edit this one a little bit, because you can edit everything like I've said. And the main thing with this one is that I'm going to use this clean tone, which actually sounds pretty good to start with. But there's a reverb on this. And for me, I'd like on a clean tone to have a slightly different type of reverb. So I've just tapped on the edit, if you saw me do that. So if I go back to the beginning screen, I can press edit at the top right to take me onto this next menu now. And we've got loads of different options here. We've got different effects. We've got the amp, we've got the impulse response, we've got the cab, reverb, delay, all this sort of stuff. So if I tap on the reverb here and then press edit, this now takes me to the list selection of all the different reverb options. So far it's on the first one, which just says room. But if I cycle through to hall now we've got a longer reverb there. Church. That's more what I like, is a longer sort of filling the gap sort of reverb. See, straight away that sounds better to me, so I'm going to click save on the top right. I could even rename the patch if I want. It still says Pure Clean at this moment in time. I'm going to keep it called Pure Clean, but if I wanted to change that for whatever I want, I could do that. I'm just going to press OK. And now that's saved everything that I've just done. I mean, I could go back into the edit menu again, and let's just say I want to add a little bit of delay. I'll go into the delay and I'll press edit. And so far you might see under where it says delay here, it says off. So I want to be able to turn that on now. So now we'll have some delay as well. That's sounding nice to me already. I like that. So I'm going to save that one. In fact, before I save it, I'm going to go back, and I think I might add, after the amp, a nice chorus, if I can find one. So I'm going to edit on effects 3. Let's see if I can find a chorus. There's so many options. An Arizona chorus. So what does this sound like? I'm going to turn it on first. That sounds great. And you can change all of these options, the depth, the rate, the tone. So I'm going to turn the depth down a little bit because I want it to be nice and light as opposed to being really intense. Yeah, let's go and save that one. So if I go back, this is basically what I've done now is I've just tweaked a few of these things. I've got an EQ there that I could tweak, the amp itself. But I'm going to save that one, click OK again. So that's all saved. So if I cycle back out of that tone, it sounds like this at the moment. I've got the chorus, I've got the delay and the changed reverb. But if I cycle back out of that, and then I go back to the one that I just created, back to the Pure Clean, it's still got all the effects and everything saved nice and easy. And that took no time at all. And it was dead easy to do. So that's basically how you cycle through all of these tones. You just flick up through them, and when you find one that you like, you can either use it as it is or you can edit it. It's super easy to do, which I really like, and then you obviously cycle back down again. If I want to also potentially play about with a tone I like, let's just find a bit of a lead tone there. What I can do is I can then tap on the drum menu, and now if I just press play, I get a drum beat as well. I'll turn that down a little bit with the volume. I love the touch screen, by the way. I like that you can just cycle up and down. It's really easy. But now I can jam over the top of this drum beat. and so on. You can get carried away with that as well. And I could obviously press it again and pick different beats. And then I can change the tempo as well. And there's quite a lot of options with that as well. There's 100 different drum beats apparently, which is pretty cool. Now, one other thing you can do with this is that I can click both of these buttons in at once, which now takes me to a looper. So I could play a nice chord progression. Let's very quickly try and do this. So I'm going to try and press this with my foot whilst I start playing this. What am I going to play? And now that's just going to repeat over the top of it. So what I just recorded was quite loud, and I want the thing I just recorded to be quieter, so I've turned that down on the loop level, so now I can play over the top of those chords. And if I want to stop that, I can just press the clear and that's all gone. And if I click these buttons again, now I'm onto the tuner and I can tune my guitar nice and easy, like that. And if I want to exit it, just press a button, it takes me back to the main screen. So one of the main things that I've been thinking about whilst I've been using this pedal and trying to get to know it a little bit more is, who is this aimed at? Who is this for? I feel like this would be perfect for beginners in the sense that it is designed to be plug and play. You can plug it in and get some pretty good sounds quite quickly. But I feel like it would be even better for someone who is maybe a little bit more advanced in terms of knowing what kind of tones that they want and being able to specifically get certain sounds that they are after. The sheer amount of options and functionality that this thing has, whilst being extremely impressive, might at the same time be a little bit overwhelming, especially for a beginner, someone who just wants to get a quick sound and be able to play. Whereas I feel like this would be the perfect choice for someone who is more of an intermediate guitar player, someone who knows what sounds that they are trying to achieve and how to actually use this to be able to do that. In terms of myself and what I would use this thing for is mainly two different things. Firstly, live playing. I feel like I would be able to play a gig using just this. Even maybe adding an expression pedal, but if not, then just this actual unit itself. I'm pretty sure I would be able to run an entire gig with just this. I wouldn't even use this with an amp. I would plug this straight into the PA because you can put this in front of an amp, but I would run this straight into the PA. So as well as not really needing a lot of different sounds to actually get me through a gig, it's nice to know that this pedal has lots of different options that I can then add in future if I ever need them. Different tones, different amps, different sounds, whatever it is, maybe for a specific song that I need to play in future. I might not need it right now, but I might need it in future, and I'm pretty sure at that point this pedal will give me exactly what I need. The other thing I would use this for is generally just home playing and jamming, and maybe even a little bit of recording. I might even be using this in future on some YouTube videos in terms of if I need to record a cover or something that has a very specific sound. And like I said, all of the options that this pedal has would definitely give me pretty much any sound that I need to create for any cover that I can think of at this moment in time. So this would be a great tool for just jamming at home. If you want to experiment with lots of different sounds, this is definitely a great option for that. So in terms of the pros and cons, let's start with the pros first. This is the Ampero Mini. You can see the size of it in relation to my hand. It's very small, very compact, so therefore it will easily be able to be portable and carried to different gigs in either your guitar case or your bag or anything like that. This is not going to really take up too much room. And of course, it's got to be said that this is extremely versatile. and it's got a great design and a great sound, so therefore I just feel like it's extremely good value for money. You're getting an awful lot in a very small package. And we also can't forget the fact that this can be used as an audio interface as well, which is another really cool feature. And not only that, like I said, the ability to add an expression pedal just by plugging it into there as well. So if you want to control some of the features on this externally, either with a little pedal on the side, if you want to control the wah or volume or any of the other effects, you can do that with this as well. The only thing I wasn't quite sure about with this pedal is that it doesn't appear to have the ability to jump from one patch to another. It seems like you can only really cycle up and down through them as opposed to jumping from one to another specific one, which might be quite far apart in your list of tones. At least that's my experience with it, and if there is another way of doing that, I've not actually managed to find that yet. So if I had a clean tone, a crunch tone, a gain tone, and a lead tone, I couldn't just jump from the clean to the lead. I'd have to cycle up through those to get to that tone, and then if I want to go back to the clean, I've got to then cycle back down to that clean tone rather than being able to jump from one to the next. That's one of the main things that I've noticed with this pedal so far. And the other thing is that, again, I've mentioned quite a lot in this video about the functionality and then the versatility of it. That might just be extremely overwhelming at times. You might get option paralysis where there is so much things that you can do with this pedal that you just don't really know where to begin. And if I'm being completely honest, that was my first experience with it. When I first plugged it in, it took me a while to just get my head around the fact that there was so much stuff that this thing could do, and I didn't know where to really begin with it. It was almost a little bit daunting. After sitting with it for quite a while, I have got used to it and I do actually really enjoy this pedal now, but at first it was a little bit of a learning curve. It's kind of like when you want to watch something on Netflix, you spend more time looking for something than actually watching because there's so many different options and you just don't know what you want to spend your evening watching and you don't want to pick the wrong one, so you spend ages flicking through to try and find the right film. That's kind of like the same experience with this pedal. You want to sort of flick through and you want to spend ages trying to find the right tone, the right effect and all that sort of stuff, and it might be a little bit overwhelming at times. But again, not necessarily a bad thing, it's just something to keep in mind. I just want to say a massive thank you to Hotone for reaching out and sending me this pedal to test out. I've really enjoyed using it. There's so much that this thing can do that I'm probably going to end up doing more videos in the future with this thing, in terms of maybe leaning more into the clean tones, the gain tones, the metal tones, whatever it is. I'm definitely going to be using this in more videos in the future, so stick around for those if you enjoyed this video. If you did enjoy this video, then don't forget to like, subscribe, leave me a comment, let me know what you think, and hopefully I'll see you next time.